this is, that negative thought you've been having, and I just can't let you try and change yourself without a fight. So, go ahead and just turn this show off, okay? And, yeah, everything's still fine.
This is Blindsight with your host, Bill Lundgren, an AINC original podcast.
You serious?
We're not holding back truth. We're here to help you heal and become the best you possible. Here's the chair. Here's the pillow. Here's Bill.
Hello there. Welcome to Blindsight. I'm your host, Bill Lundgren. Blindsight is a product of the Audio Information Network of Colorado, and we're delighted to have you back for part 2 of our discussion with Bonnie Barlow about audio description. Welcome back, Bonnie.
Thank you very much.
We're glad to have you. When we talked last, I was kind of curious as to what kind of training does an audio describer have to have? I mean, do they have to run a marathon for 26 hours to know, so that you know they can handle a boring 3-hour play, a description?
Well, a lot of it does depend on what their focus is going to be for describing. So I, look at different things when it's someone who wants to write description and do voiceover for media and TV and broadcast, or if it's someone who wants to do live plays. Like I said before, the basics are all the same, and then we just kind of, look at the different elements that a person needs to be aware of, how to set the scene when it comes to doing a play. So recently, I've had a couple of students where, I trained them with the basics, and when we talked about doing plays specifically, including pre-show information, and whether or not they'll get to do a sensory tour ahead of time with someone. And then, I, have taken them with me to listen to me describe a play. And then the theaters have been very generous about, giving them a free ticket to come as, part of the training. And then I will tell them they can go ahead and prepare some of the description or the pre-show, and we can do it together. Or if they feel at that point like the play they're going to do isn't overly challenging and they are sort of confident that they can handle it, I'll let them just go on their own, and they can ask me questions. I'll give them ideas about how to research, how to find out more about a play, and kind of the do's and don'ts of each particular one, how to address specific things like the set and the way things work for Hamilton versus, a simpler play. And then, I'm there available to answer their questions and be backup. So that's, wow. You don't have to do marathons. You just kind of have to have the basics and then some kind of an idea of what that kind of description needs.
Well, do you have them write out a sample description so you see it, what their thinking is, and what they would, or just
not writing it up? Because for plays, now if it's for doing a show or something, yes, I'll show them how to do the formatting for writing description, and they have to where the timing is in the media where they want the description to fit. So we'll do that way. But live plays are done more spontaneously. You'll have some notes, but you want to be free to just be watching the action and not looking at a full script or notes while you're describing. So good describers will, be kind of doing it extemporaneously and then have made certain notes about, in this section, when I hear them say this cue, I know something's going to happen real fast. So I'll give myself a note, quickly say, he leaves, she comes in. Or when there's set changes, if I know I won't be able to see the set change while it's happening, I'll write it all down. So while they're doing it, I can describe the next scene that's going to be shown in a sec. So it's sort of specific, approaches like that work best.
Well, there is a problem sometimes with where they put the describer in relation to the stage to be able to see everything that's going on. Like I was one play where it was up, she was up on the balcony and some of the actors were, in essence, out of sight line. So she had to, kind of ad-lib what was happening, So they have to be nimble on their feet.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing you can prepare for, when you're previewing, is anytime you notice something that might not be, seeable by you when they're coming in from the, doors or a certain exit, that, you make a special note. Oh, right when a cue happens here, again, I give myself a cue, then, I'll say so-and-so is where they are. Even though I won't get to see it, I'll know that's where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
For Phantom of the Opera, some of the action takes place up on the roof of the opera house. And when we are in the booth, we can't see it.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure we take some good notes about what happens up there and just read from our script at that point. So it's that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I know in some of the Broadway plays, the actor comes in drunk. I mean, I don't mean as part of the show, but and I keep wondering how an audio describer would handle that.
Yeah, probably just say something like he stumbles or tries to catch himself or, is looking in the wrong direction or whatever I see that shows me, oh, yeah.
Well, the other thing, too, do you... For example, I was thrilled to find out that what you're doing with the art museum in terms of describing pieces. Do you choose a describer who has at least an artistic bent or some familiarity with artwork, or have a describer who does the ballet who has some background in ballet? Or is that asking too much?
Right, good question. Specifically for the art, it is good to have someone who knows some things about art so that they can apply them in their description. We don't have to, have an art degree or even know that much about an artist, but we have to be able to use some of the ways that artists express themselves in our description. So when I'm looking at a piece, I'm just describing exactly what is there. So I might say first what the size is of the piece. Then I might say it's in it's oil on canvas. It's very deep, bright, colors. Or if it's more pastel and washy watercolor, I might say that. And then I'll say, like the perspective, perhaps. So our in the foreground we see certain things, and then smaller in the background we see other things, and that gives us a sense of distance. So I just kind of lay out the composition and the basic elements. And then, again, you'll set the stage for what people will see in their mind's eye as they hear the subjective information. So that's basically what a person does. So it helps to kind of know those things. But a person can also kind of educate themselves. I described Amish quilts, and I didn't know how to do quilting, but I went and talked to a quilter. And she talked to me about the different designs, and the way they are named is very evocative of the way they look. So a tumbling block quilt looks like different colored squares that look like three-dimensional blocks, kind of expanding from the middle or whatever. And sometimes again you can do a sensory tour with different textures of designs of quilts that a person could feel ahead of time. So that sort of thing. It's kind of a mix of pre-knowledge and then, educating oneself.
Well, I was thinking of some of the earlier painters, like I think his name is Bush, who had big canvas with a million different things going on in his painting, and to have an audio describer try to pick out the primaries. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's no easy feat.
So again, I go from the general to specific. So I'll say there's a bunch of stuff going on here, and then I'll say, for example, in this corner, such and such. So I can pick just one area to really describe in detail, and then the person kind of applies that to the whole thing in their mind. Mm-hmm.
So you have to find a shorthand to kind of give somebody the sense of, Boy, it takes a lot of work to trying to figure all that out.
Yeah, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. You kind of
Yeah.
learn how to organize visual things, like you organize thoughts or your house. If you have a messy house, you might not be a good describer. I'm not sure if that totally translates, but it could be.
Well, what kinds of shows are coming up? And I don't mean necessarily play, but we talked last time that there were a number of things that are occurring in this area that you wanted to tell people about, that they are being audio described.
Yes. Yeah, so, we have the usual suspects. We have the usual plays and places, downtown with the Denver Center of Performing Arts and the Broadway tour productions and the local theater company and the Galleria and opera and ballet. But then also we're starting to do description in Inglewood at the Lakewood Cultural Center. It's confusing because it says Lakewood, but we're Inglewood. Lakewood Cultural Center. And we've just described our first play for them in January. We did Little Women, and it was a musical version. It was a version that had been, created for Broadway. And so we did that, and we did a little short, sensory tour. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. And they're going to be doing Carousel now on the... I have to look at my calendar here.
One thing, Bonnie, what the DCPA has done is have one performance of every show that is audio described. Is that what most of the theaters are doing?
Yeah. Yes.
So the person who wants to attend would have to call the venue and say, okay, when is the accessible performance?
Yes.
And hopefully they're available on that day.
Or no, we'll send, so I have that email list of about 100 folks that I send stuff that's coming out to. So you all will be getting emails from Lakewood Cultural Center telling you all these details, both about Carousel. I think it's going to be March 19th, but I'll double check. And then also another thing that is going to, and if anyone listening wants to be on my mailing list and subsequently, as a extension, you'll be on Ken's list from Liquid. Just let me know at bonniejbarlow@gmail.com that you want to be on my list, and you'll get, announcements on things like this coming up. And so they're going to be doing another thing called Visionaries. And that is the one where, let's see, I just sent out an email the other day to that list. So people might have already heard about this a little bit. But it's going to be on Friday, April 21st. And it is featuring jazz music by the Daniel Kelly Trio, painted or paired with photographic light painting created by blind and visually impaired artists. And they explore what it means to truly see. And there was a video that I sent in this email as well. So I'm thinking you got it, Bill.
I didn't get it. I'm going to complain to Bonnie Barlow. Yeah, if you could check your list to see if I'm on it, because I haven't gotten anything for a while. But anyway, that's my personal business. But okay, what else? What else?
So here, let me just say a little more about it then.
Yeah.
So so Friday, April 21st, 7:30 p.m. It's basically some photographers, a collective, and they're gonna. What they do is light painting, where they put subjects in a dark room, they expose film, and then they move lights around their subjects and things, and so the film picks up the light and the little bits of the subjects that are highlighted at different times, and it creates what's kind of turns into a sort of abstract, unusual kind of ghostly sort of image sometimes. And what they're going to do is they're going to talk about some of those that they'll be doing, and then they're going to do a creative or a actual photograph of the whole audience that will be created at that time with the same method. And so there will be some pieces outside in the lobby that I'll describe, and then the rest of it is described pretty much by them. So it should be really cool.
It sounds it.
So I'll be sending out more information.
Mm-hmm.
So April 21st, 7:30 at the Lakewood Cultural Center.
Wow.
And they also right now have an exhibit that's there that's got some visually impaired accessible pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So people can go to that even now.
Right. Okay. Now, in terms of the artwork at the Denver Art Museum, they would have that pre-recording whenever they do a description available whenever anybody goes there. What's the because I know everybody trying to keep costs down, and they try to they're just not sure at how many blind people people with blindness are going to show up. So they try to get the maximum out of their describers.
Well, basically, when I used to, I haven't worked with the Denver Museum for some time. When I did, we did them in person. But now I don't think they have anything recorded specifically for audio description. I think they have a recorded tour that's general. And then,
general for the museum in general.
And then they have certain days where they'll have some pieces that are available for people to touch and different like sensory bags or whatever. But you kind of have to prepare for those and go on a specific date. So you just have to contact the museum. I personally don't think it's optimal. I think it would be better to have an available described, tour that's for the blind that even could include wayfinding, which is what we did for the Smithsonian. You actually record where they go and where they plug in their device next and what choices they have.
Oh, yeah.
But,
okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's like at the Smithsonian and other museums, but they aren't doing that at Denver Art Museum. So they just have a couple of adjunct things. So you'd have to check with them. And if you want to call them, because if you just walk in, the folks at the desk may or may not know. Because I went in there with a blind person once, and she asked, well, what do you have for me? And they were like, oh, we don't know. So they went and checked with somebody else. They said, well, you have certain days where you could do this or that. So it wasn't optimal, but I'm not sure what they're doing right now, so I can't say.
So it really would behoove all of us to be keeping contact with the places that we would like to go. And if they're not doing it now, just our presence. Our presence and reminding them.
And giving them feedback and telling them whether or not what they've provided is, really meets your needs, or if you feel like they should be doing more.
Right.
Because that's your right to say so. It's required by law.
Well, what area would you like to see doing audio description that's not doing it now?
Film festivals are kind of spotty when it comes to providing audio description for their documentaries and stuff, even when it comes to documentaries about or by people with disabilities. So I've worked with the Real Abilities Film Festival when they've started doing them in the last 2 years at the Jewish Community Center, Meisel Arts Center. And so they have specific days. They have films that I get ahead of time, and I can write a description for if they don't come with one already. Because not all the films do come with it. Some of the people who've made these films weren't sure how to get description added yet, or they may have gotten some that was kind of minimal, but not really, really descriptive. So I kind of assess what they have, what they might need, and then I can either record it, or this year what they had me do was come in person at each time they were showing the films. I brought my equipment, and any blind people in the audience would wear the headset, and I would describe it live while they were playing the movie, and only they heard the description, but I used a script because I had seen it ahead of time. So it was kind of an interesting mix of methods. So I think that more people who are creating films, if they could find more central places where someone can help them with that accessibility, and they find me, but it's kind of hit and miss. But I like to say I want to provide accessibility to the people who are trying to give it, to the community, as well as those in the community who want to use it. So I try to not, charge them too much. I try to give them ideas on how to present it and market it. And sometimes they'll have in person, description, like I said, and then they'll have their films available for streaming. And they can have a version with audio description for streaming and just give, the blind people a separate, code to log in and hear the described version. So there are a lot of things that if we could centralize stuff more, but I don't know how they'll ever get to do that because there's so many, growing in different areas for description, which is great, but it's still kind of hit and miss when it comes to finding it.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah, but knowing what could be available and then approaching the people that you are around and asking them, can you make that available, is probably the best way to do that.
Well, I was thinking, so many people have smartphones, and wonder if there's some way that the smartphone can be. Of course, there still would be external speakers, but not
necessarily, because you can bring your headphones.
Yeah, that's right.
So there are certain apps where either you can get help from professionals, or you can even create your own tour of an exhibit or something with an app, where you can number the exhibits and you can record your description, and you can even record that wayfinding I was talking about, where you can say, now that we finished describing this one, to your right, by 10 feet is, you'll come up to this next feet. And sometimes these apps, you can print out QR codes and put them around your exhibit, and indicate in the app, when they point the phone at it and hit the code, it starts describing that part of the exhibit. So there are a lot of, possibilities that way, where, again, if you go and ask them, hey, do you have this? And did you know this is available? And here's the people who can maybe help you do that. That'll all go a long way to creating that access.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there was a piece on CPR this morning about outreach to people with disabilities, and even in finding resources to know about hiking, places to hike, and so forth.
Right.
So, and this is apparently a new app. I don't remember the name of it, but people are stepping up to provide services to our community, and that's it's never, nothing is ever perfect, but at least we're moving a lot farther along, and that was the reason you had to go search me out at the theater, which I appreciate, to tell me about audio description, because nobody was talking about it.
Right.
And said, hey, have you tried this? And I'm right now, I'm an addict. I've got to have, I wouldn't know what to do going into a theater without earphones on.
Right. And so, I don't know if you know, but at most movies now in the theaters, those are audio described, and they have the equipment there, and you just ask for it when you go in.
Now, is that in specific theaters, or is pretty general that
it's most of them now.
Most of them now, okay.
It's most of them now. It used to only be specific ones, but now they're all pretty much equipped with that. The unfortunate thing is sometimes the house staff aren't as aware of what that equipment's for,
right.
Or sometimes it doesn't pick up the signal correctly and you don't get the description after all. So there's still some bugs to be worked out with that. But, I did that. I wrote the description for the movie Mr. Holmes with Ian McKellen playing Sherlock Holmes, at retirement age when he was starting to lose his memory. And it was a beautiful film. And when it came out in the theater, I went with Gail Hamilton, and we both got the headsets and listened to my description of the movie. So it was pretty cool.
Wow, that's amazing. You're everywhere.
I am.
And
there she is again.
I say thank you, because you're making a difference in our being able to be in the regular world and enjoy what is going on out there and not feel left out, which I think is the hardest part of having a disability, is feeling left out.
Right. And I always say I kind of have a ulterior motive, because I enjoy entertainment so much that I'm always wanting to share it with my friends. And since I have lots of blind friends, I want to share it with them in the best way possible, which is, with audio description. And that way we can all have fun together with watching it. So.
Yeah. And, I too have always loved the theater, and have been, it's funny, because I was hearing impaired as a child, I couldn't hear the stage unless it was Ethel Merman performing, and you could hear her down the block from the theater. But so I just got used to only being able to appreciate part of it, which in that time was dance and the set and so forth, and occasionally Ethel Merman. But now I can't see, but having the description plus being able to hear what's going on, I'm really getting a much fuller sense of the theater than I ever had before. And I'm just very grateful for that.
That's what we're there for.
Are some of the smaller theaters, the Curious Theater and some of the other, are they also doing audio description? Are you finding their comfort level with having that service available?
It's still hit and miss with those two. I did try to get Curious Theater specifically to have audio description, and we kept experimenting with where we could describe from within the building and the technology we had available. And we, so those are all things that have to be considered. You have to have a describer being away from the general audience, but still able to hear and see the show, and others to be able to pick up the signal. So I've tried doing it two different ways. I've tried using like the Zoom app and just describing on Zoom to the blind members in the audience, having their phone and headphones and logging into my, Zoom meeting, and that works pretty well. I also have Wi-Fi equipment that works in a small space, but it's always just kind of a combination of trying to make sure you have the correct, physical elements going on, plus the electronic elements, and then building the audience for it, and, just making it happen, so that not just planning for it and preparing for it, but also really being able to carry it all through successfully with great signals and everything is kind of a monumental task, but we keep trying. So
yeah. Well, I don't think there are too many people out there like you across the country, or are there like an association of audio describers, or is it catch can?
Yeah, there's not an association, but I think it's good to have a lot of individuals who are good at different things, because the technology is always changing, and the needs and desires for description are always changing and kind of growing. So it's kind of hard to try to cement anything in place for too long, because stuff changes all the time. So in a way, that's my approach, is kind of just be ready to, try to be creative and, out of the gate, do something that'll work for people, and then tweak it and, see what you can make happen. So like they're trying to create a certification for audio describers, which could be good.
Okay.
But then you also have to provide an educational track so that they will be qualified for the certification, and then make sure that certification includes things that really are practical, in application in all the different types of description you do. So it's been a monumental task that they're undertaking to kind of create that. So I wouldn't wait for that, but there'll be another possibility that people might get certified. When I train people, I give them what I call a certificate of completion of my course, but it's not, certified in description, technically, because there is no such thing yet.
Well, how long is your course? I mean, how long if I were...
I do 4 weeks at 90 minutes a week, and I cover the basics at first, and this can be online or in person. I cover the basics at first, and then we start practicing, and then we focus on what the student's interest is, and then I will give them, I try to give them things to work on that are real, live going on, instead of being just practice with something that's not going to, a movie that nobody's ever going to see or something. I try to, if I'm doing certain work that isn't covered by, non-disclosures, I can have them work on it with me, and then they'll have that as part of their, beginning portfolio of work they can do and the kinds of work. So I do some writing for educational videos for the government through described caption media programming. So I'll have them work on those with me a little bit. And I, do that under the, the okay of DCMP. Or I've worked on a couple of parks, national parks projects, like an online repository of like 1,000 videos, short videos of Native Americans speaking about their culture in their part of the Northwest that was in the Lewis and Clark expeditions stopping points. So they take this tent to these different places that they took, the trail, and they set them up, and it's called the Tent of Many Voices. And people would go in and record, small bits about their tribe and their traditions. So the government site that held all of this wanted audio description for all of those. So I took several students who had recently, graduated my course, and we did those all together and got them done within a couple of months. So those are now available on the, what is it called? It's the National Park Service Tent of Many Voices, if you look that up. So, yeah, I try to just kind of provide education and a little bit of experience in the things they're most interested in. And like if I have documentaries that I'm working on for a film festival, I'll have them work on, helping me write those, and they can then take credit for that in their portfolio. So I try to give them real practical experience.
Wow. You are everywhere. And that's great. I'm really glad to have this chance to interview you and get a much broader idea. I hope that our audience likewise see there are so many possibilities that I certainly didn't know were there. So
yeah.
Anything new, anything you're looking towards is I haven't done this yet, I'm going to do it.
No, just I do like just, kind of being ready to, because I can't really anticipate things like, the Tent of Many Voices coming up or specific exhibitions. And it's like, oh, wow, that will be really cool to describe that. So I'm just always ready to respond with whatever someone else comes up with as a need. So I don't have any foresight, but I have a lot of hindsight and insight.
Well, Bonnie, thank you so much for your tour of audio description. And
Welcome.
I hope that we'll be touching base periodically to see if there's some new things coming up that you want to share. So thank you for being our guest for this two-parter. And I wish you the best for the future.
Thanks. Thanks for having me again. And we'll see you at the theater.
You betcha. And put me on the mailing list.
All right. I'm going to send you something now and make sure you got it.
Okay, great. And thank you all for listening in. This has been Blindsight. If any of you have any questions or comments or suggestions for a future program, don't hesitate to contact us at AIN of Colorado. Let us know what you want to hear, what you heard that you don't want to hear. We take all kinds. We aren't hurt when we get the brickbats, but we also love having your comments of any kind. So contact us. And this is the end of part 2 with Bonnie Barlow. And this was produced by the Audio Information Network of Colorado. Jonathan Price was our producer. And I'm Bill Lundgren, your host. And talk to you next time. Thank you.